Are you gonna take all items for him, or just, like, are you gonna do this?
We could do both.
Yeah. Oh, we're live, or we're on.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Lunenburg Select Board. Today is Tuesday, December 16th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live over the Lunenburg Public Access channel, on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page, and will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel after the meeting. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. We're going to begin with announcements tonight, and I have two. One last reminder about Santa's mailbox, which is by the flagpole in the town center. You have until this Friday to drop off a letter to Santa and get a response. Make sure you put your name and address on the envelope to get a response. And just an FYI at the beginning of the meeting that town offices will be closed from 12 to 2 p.m. tomorrow for an employee event. Okay, public comment. Are there any public comments from the board?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Any public comments from the public? Not seeing any public. Let me check on Zoom. Nope. All right, we're going to jump right into our first meeting, and it is an introduction of Stephen Wallace, the town's new Director of Planning and Economic Development. So I will invite Mr. Wallace up to the podium.
And Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wallace is coming up. It is my pleasure to introduce the community to Stephen. He is coming to us most recently from Sterling, but has a long and very successful career, and I am thrilled to be welcoming him tonight to Lunenburg.
Awesome.
So,
Good evening, Honorable Select Board of Lunenburg.
Good evening.
I'm very happy to be joining your town as your new planning director. I've got 35 years of experience as a professional planner, 10 years in New Hampshire, the last 25 here in Massachusetts, spent 9 years with Central Mass Regional Planning out of Worcester, a couple years with the city of Framingham, 11 years with the town of Westminster, and I'm wrapping up 3 years with the town of Sterling. So I have a lot of experience working for small rural towns like Lunenburg. I'm very interested in hearing what your priorities are for the next planning director. So please give that some thought. And when you're ready, drop by my office and we'll have a talk, or send me your thoughts via email or give me a call, whatever your preferred mode of communication. But I'm going to spend my first few weeks meeting with the various boards and committees in the planning board, of course, and getting their priorities. Going to put them together into what will be my annual work program for my department. I'll share that with you. We'll talk about it. I'll keep you updated as we go along. But yeah, I can't wait to get started. I'll start the first full week of February. Questions, comments?
Thank you. I'll open it up to any questions or comments.
No, I'd just like to thank you, welcome you to Lunenburg, and appreciate you sharing your experience here with us. You know, since getting involved with local government, starting with the planning board, I have a new appreciation for the importance of a position such as yours. So once again, thank you for sharing your expertise.
Yeah, thank you for coming tonight and welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to welcome you aboard, and excited to have you start in February.
Great.
And I definitely will take you up on your offer to chat at some point, because I've been talking about economic development with a lot of folks in town, and I have a lot that I'm learning and curious about. So I would love to chat with you at some point, but you're joining Lunenburg during what I think is a very interesting and potentially exciting for you time. So welcome aboard.
I've got some ideas for economic development, so let's
Great.
chat when you get a chance.
Sounds good, Jen.
No, just Stephen, I think, is going to be a great asset to the team. I'm really excited to have him. I think that he's going to be able to just fit in very easily to our crew and get going right away, which is awesome.
Well, it was so nice to meet you, Stephen. Have a good night. And I guess we can just make this final now instead of doing it later. I move to ratify the town manager's appointment of Stephen Wallace as Director of Planning and Economic Development.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. It was so nice to meet you, Mr. Wallace, and we'll chat soon.
Okay. See you next year.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have FY24 audit report from Frank Soretti, Managing Director of CBIZ CPAs.
Hello, thank you for having me here tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate the opportunity to present the results of the audit to you. I would like to start off with something that's called a governance letter. It should have been part of your packages. It contains required communications that we're supposed to share with those charged with governance for the town, and that's the select board. Excuse me. So this is a little bit dry. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as I can.
No worries.
Move on to some of the more exciting financial highlights. But it starts off talking about our responsibilities as auditors for the audit, and basically our primary responsibility is to express an opinion on the financial statements as to whether they're fairly stated in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We're also responsible for considering the city's internal control over financial reporting, to determine our auditing procedures, and for the purpose of expressing our opinions on the financial statements. Although providing an opinion on the internal controls is not a primary purpose of the audit, we're also responsible for obtaining reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatements, by performing tests of its compliance with provisions of laws, grants, regulations, and contracts. And however, providing an opinion on compliance is also not one of the objectives of the audit. Generally accepted accounting principles requires the inclusion of required supplementary information in the financial statements. And those are schedules that are in the back of the financial statements. Your budget to actual schedule, your pension and OPEB schedules, those types of things. We're required to apply certain limited procedures on those schedules, but we don't provide an opinion on those schedules. Next section talks about the plan, scope, timing of the audit. The audit includes examining on a test basis evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. And it involves judgment about the number of transactions to be examined in the areas that we test. The audit includes attaining an understanding of the entity and its environment, including internal controls sufficient to assess the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements and to design the nature, timing, and extent of our audit procedures. Material misstatements may arise from errors, fraudulent financial reporting, misappropriation of assets, violations of laws or government regulations that are attributable to the acts of management. When we encounter these types of things when performing the audit, we generally communicate those at the conclusion of the audit. However, there are instances when we might communicate those matters sooner than that. The last part of that section talks about significant risks of material misstatement in the audit, and management over audit controls is always considered to be a significant risk. It's nothing unique to Lunenburg. We have to consider that a significant risk in all the audits that we do. And what that means is that management has the authority and the discretion to override internal controls, and that creates the potential for fraud, and it also makes it difficult to detect misstatements in the financial statements. So to respond to that risk, we perform different procedures. One of them is incorporating an element of unpredictability into the audit. That means that we don't perform the same audit procedures every year so that the management team knows what we're going to look at and that type of thing. We try to keep people on their toes and, not have people just focusing on things that they know that we're going to look at. Testing of journal entries. Journal entries is an area where management, can have the ability to override controls if there are not sufficient controls in place over the journal entries. We make sure that there are valid descriptions and explanations for the journal entries and that they make sense. We make sure that there's adequate supporting documentation and that there's sufficient controls like an approval process. You don't want one person to be able to go in and make journal entries without someone else reviewing and approving those entries. That's a segregation of duties issue. We also assign experienced staff to the engagement. We review estimates for bias, and we evaluate any significant or unusual transactions that we might encounter while performing the audit. Next section talks about qualitative aspects of accounting practices, and management is responsible for the selection and use of appropriate accounting policies. The significant accounting policies can be found in Note 1 of the financial statements. There were no new accounting policies adopted during the year, and the application of existing policies was not changed. Accounting estimates are an integral part of the preparation of the financial statements. They're based on management's knowledge and assumptions, knowledge and experience about past and current events, as well as assumptions about future events. The most significant estimates in the financial statements relate to the net OPEB liability, the net pension liability, and depreciation on fixed assets. We reviewed the underlying assumptions that we used to develop the estimates, and we found them to be reasonable in relation to the financial statements as a whole. There are certain financial statement disclosures that are particularly sensitive to users of the financial statements because of their significance. Those, again, are the net pension liability and the net OPEB liability. We reviewed those disclosures, and we found them to be clear, consistent, and neutral. Next section talks about difficulties encountered while performing the audit. I'm happy to report that we did not encounter any difficulties while dealing with management while performing the audit. Next paragraph talks about independence, and as part of the audit, we've agreed to perform certain non-attest services. This is mainly related to the preparation of the financial statements, consolidating funds into governmental and business type activities, converting to the accrual basis of accounting, and based on our review of these procedures and our role and management's role, we found that our independence would not be impaired. In fact, our appearance, and this is standard practice for the municipalities across the state, nothing unusual here. For Lunenburg, corrected and uncorrected misstatements, we're required to accumulate known and likely misstatements that we might identify while we're performing the audit, unless they're clearly trivial, and communicate those to the appropriate levels of management. I'm happy to report that we didn't identify any misstatements in the financial records as we were doing the audit. Disagreements with management, that is considered to be a disagreement related to a financial accounting, reporting, or auditing matter, whether or not it's resolved to our satisfaction. That could be significant to the financial statements of the auditor's report. I'm happy to report we had no such disagreements with management. And then management representations. As part of the audit, we send a letter over with various representations that we require management to make to us, and it's important that those representations are accurate and complete. And those representations were provided. We need to get that before we can issue and finalize the financial statements, and that's a standard practice when auditing. Management consultation with other independent accountants. There are times when management may seek out another accountant for accounting matters or advice. This is similar to obtaining a second opinion. And if that consultation relates to preparation of the financial statements or the opinion on the financial statements, our standards require them to check with us to make sure that they have all the relevant facts. To our knowledge, no such consultations occurred. Almost there. Other audit findings or issues. We generally discuss a variety of matters, including application of accounting policies and standards with management each year prior to our retention, and all of these discussions occurred in the normal course of our relationship, and none of them were a condition of our retention as auditors. And the last paragraph just talks more about the required supplementary information, which we already touched on, so I'm not going to get into that. If anybody has any questions on that, I can take them, or I can move on to the financial highlights.
Any questions? Okay.
Okay. Financial highlights. The overall results of the audit, we were able to issue an unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion. It's the best you can get. It means the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The information that we received was accurate. The responses to our inquiries were timely, and we did not identify any internal control deficiencies, such as material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. And so those are good, very good results. We had very good cooperation, no issues getting the information that we needed or anything like that. So from our standpoint, we thought the audit went very well from that standpoint. Financial highlights, general fund balance totaled $10.7 million. Of that, $370,000 related to encumbrances that were carried over to be spent in the next year because you had commitments against those funds. You also used $1.7 million of free cash to fund your 2025 budget. So that was also considered to be assigned. That left you with unassigned fund balance of $8.7 million. That's about 18% of your budget. And that's up from last year where it was 17% or $7.9 million. So about an $800,000 increase in your unassigned fund balance, which is really a good, healthy fund balance, and you really want to be in that range from a rating standpoint. The rating agencies are looking for that, like 10 to 20%. So that's a good, healthy fund balance. Included in that are your stabilization funds. You've got your general stabilization fund with a $3 million balance. That was up about $300,000 from the prior year. And that's been steadily increasing since 2013. So the town has been doing a good job at putting some reserves aside for, unexpected and unforeseen things that might come up. It's nice to have that flexibility in your arsenal. You're trying to balance your budget. So that's a positive trend there, and it, continue to build that up a little bit more. Zoning stabilization was $243,000, pretty consistent with what it was in the prior year. Vehicle and equipment stabilization fund was $2.3 million. That was up about $400,000, so you put a little more money aside there too. Health insurance stabilization fund, $116,000, and opioid stabilization fund, $184,000. So like I said, those are all part of your unassigned fund balance when you're looking at your general fund balance sheet. Real estate and personal property tax collections continue to be strong. About 98% of the commitment was collected, which is very good. Budgetary results, you ended up having an increase on the budgetary basis of $651,000 in fund balance. You had a revenue surplus of $653,000, mainly related to tax liens, motor vehicle excise, fees and rentals, but pretty conservative budgeting, which that's what helps you to build up your fund balance. You don't want to, budget too aggressively and then come short. So it's always, better to err on the conservative side. Expenditures came in under budget by $1.5 million, and that pretty much spread across all the functional line items. And then those generated increases in fund balance, and those increases were offset by the use of $1.2 million of free cash that was used to balance the FY24 budget. These results indicate that your budget is structurally sound and that you have good budgetary controls in place. A little bit about the OPEB liability. The town contributed another $283,000 to the OPEB trust fund in 2024, brought the balance up to $1.4 million. You also had $141,000 of investment income, which is up from the prior year, which was $59,000. So you're starting to accumulate a balance in the OPEB trust fund, which is great. Now you're starting to have some significant earnings there. And the other thing that's doing for you, it's allowing you to be able to increase your discount rate. And your discount rate, well, actually, before I get to that, your net OPEB liability was $50.9 million. At the end of the year, that was down from the prior year of $53.2 million. And the contributions that you put in the fund, the investment income, those help to reduce your net OPEB liability. And they also help to increase your discount rate because you don't currently qualify for the long-term rate of return until you use what's called a blended rate until you have your assets are sufficient to pay for projected benefits with current plan members. And so your long-term rate of return is 6.25%. So you currently have a blend of that in the AA municipal bond rate, which was 4.21%. So there is something in the footnotes called a sensitivity analysis in the OPEB notes. It's on page 60. And that tells you what the impact of a 1% increase or decrease in the discount rate is. So you went up by about 0.6%, so a little bit more than 0.5%. And what that note will tell you, if you look at it, is that a 1% increase to decrease is going to change your liability, either increase it or decrease it in the range of like $6.5 to $8 million. So you were a little over 0.5%. So that's a big part of the decrease that we were talking about in the liability was related to that discount rate going up, and that's all tied into your funding and everything else of the trust. And I believe your trust contributions are 10% of your free cash. I believe that's the policy. So as long as your free cash stays up, then your trust contributions are going to stay up. They have been trending upwards over the last 9 years, and you can see that in the back of the report on one of the RSI schedules. And then you have the net pension liability, and that's really related to the Worcester Regional Retirement System. So anybody that's not a teacher or someone that qualifies to be in the Mass Teachers Retirement System, certain administrators at the school qualify as well. Everyone else that qualifies for a pension will be in the Worcester Regional Retirement System. The net pension liability there was $22.5 million related to the town, up a little bit from the prior year of 21.4. System is 50% funded, and that's up 2% from the prior year. They lowered their discount rate slightly, and that's really about all wanted to mention about that. Capital assets, you increased your capital assets, capital additions for general government activities by $2.2 million, mainly related to road paving and machinery and equipment. No capital asset additions for sewer enterprise. Not really a lot going on with debt. You had $152,000 of short-term debt outstanding at the end of the year. That was temporarily funding the capital plan and land purchase. Didn't issue any new long-term debt. Made your required payments of 1.6 for governmental, 1.6 million, and 692 for sewer. And then the last thing I had was on the report on federal awards. Any entity in Massachusetts that expends over $750,000 in federal funds is required to undergo a single audit, and that's an audit of the federal funds. And so the town expended $2.7 million, so you're well over that $750,000 threshold, and your town typically does qualify for the single audit. $417,000 of those expenditures related to school nutrition, $599 for special education, $522 for the American Rescue Plan Act program, $728 for the COVID-19 Education Stabilization Fund grant program, and that's a school program that's running out, and then $434,000 for other grants. Based on our work, we determined that we needed to audit the Education Stabilization Fund. We had no findings, no question costs, no internal control deficiencies. So again, this was a clean report, unmodified opinion, best results you could hope for on the audit of the federal awards. So all in all, financial position seems to be improving. No internal control deficiencies, very good cooperation from everybody. So from our standpoint, it was a very good audit.
All right. Thank you very much, Frank. I'll open it up to any questions from the board.
Sure.
Out of curiosity, how many municipalities do you audit?
You mean the company?
Yeah.
Well, we've recently merged. So
Right.
before we merged, I think we were probably 80 to 100.
Okay.
And so now we've merged, I'm going to say probably, if we took the Northeast, I'm going to say 300 to 500 maybe.
Okay, so a lot.
Yeah, it's
How
not all
long have you
cities.
been auditing Lunenburg?
How long have we been auditing Lunenburg? I've been on this audit for quite a while with the legacy firm, Powers and Sullivan. I don't know the exact year, I'm sorry,
Okay.
but
No, that's
if I
fine.
had to guess, I'd say probably a good 15 years or so.
I'm just wondering if you have enough information based on what you've seen in municipalities that you worked with to say what you think of our financial practices and how they compare to other municipalities. Are they better, worse, average? Just curious.
I mean, historically, over the last several years, I would say that, your financial practices have been very good. Like, if you look at the trends of, the town's finances over the last, 10 years, I think that you'll see that the financial condition has been improving over that period of time with the reserves and, general fund balance, the unreserved fund balance, the stabilization funds, the funding of the OPEB liability, which is not required, but it's a prudent thing to do. And, it's, to me, if, there are still some communities out there that aren't funding it. And to me, they're kind of kicking the can down the road to future generations. Those are, costs that are, being incurred now, even though they're not getting paid out until people retire. So I think that's a great thing when communities fund that. But internal control-wise, we've never had any issues with cash reconciliation, receivable reconciliations. I mean, cash is honestly one of the biggest risk areas in the audit, and that's one of the most important things that first question we ask is cash reconciled, and never been an issue out here. And books have always been closed on a timely basis, don't typically find errors. So, I mean, our experience has been, pretty positive. I'm not sure, I can't think back to us having a significant deficiency or material weakness in any of our reports. We've had comments in the past, but there are more kind of efficiency improvement things. But CBIZ is not as inclined to put those in writing. We're more inclined to communicate those verbally to management.
Sure.
The things that we typically put in our communications that would be attached to this governance letter would be like a significant deficiency or a material weakness. And from what I'm hearing about 25, it sounds like, things are behind, like cash reconciliations are behind, and, that right off the bat is going to be a material weakness because there are not controls in place when you're not reconciling cash that would detect an error or fraud on a timely basis. So something could occur and you're not going to know about it because there's no reconciliation being done. Money could not be recorded on the ledger. It could be an honest mistake where something wasn't recorded or something could be missing. But if you don't reconcile between your bank balances and your book balances and your general ledger, you're at risk, and that's considered to be a material weakness in internal control, because a material error could occur and you don't have systems in place when you're not reconciling to detect that on a timely basis. So that's a really big thing. That's something that you want to get done and caught up as soon as possible so that you can get that peace of mind and know that everything's okay. And similarly, the receivables would probably be next in line. All your funds go through that receivable process. You're committing those receivables for collection. The collector collects the money. You want to make sure that those are being reconciled. The general ledger is a check and balance on the collector's records, again, to make sure that everything is being properly accounted for and nothing's missing, that type of thing. So, yeah, I think getting some good people in to help, get you caught up on that stuff. It sounds like you're moving in that direction, which is really great to hear. I was happy to hear that. And yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
It sure does, yeah. Thanks for raising that. Jen, did you want to respond?
I just wanted to add that, so we haven't engaged yet for FY25 because we haven't closed FY25 yet. So Once FY '25 is fully closed, which we're anticipating with the consultants that are working on it, that to be around January, end of January, January 31st is what we're hoping, that's the target date. Then, at that point, we'll engage CBIZ again for, well, we'll sign a contract before that, but we'll actually have them start doing the FY '25 audit.
Okay.
So that's work that typically would be underway now,
Yeah.
or well on its way now, actually, right?
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
usually start, we'd like to do like preliminary work in the spring, and then we come in, yeah, probably like September-ish to work on it. But, yeah, I think you'll still be in good shape if you're able to get things cleaned up by then and, you know,
Awesome.
get a schedule, get it done as quick as we can.
We're certainly working towards that.
There's an agenda item to that point.
There it is, yes. All right, well, thank you very much, Frank.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for coming in tonight.
Yep, great seeing everyone.
Yep, have a good night.
You too.
Mr. Rogers, you want to make a public comment?
Mr. Chairman, Dave Rogers, 82 Highlands.
We don't have, to the booth, can we get a microphone out here? Oh,
Sure.
you're fast.
About time. Thank you. Dave Rogers, 82 Highlands.
It should be on.
It's on.
Yeah. Hit it
Green.
again, so it's green.
No,
Hit it back on, there it is.
Green now.
Yep.
Oh. Okay, on the agenda, it was indicated that this segment that this gentleman just got through, as well as the new employee that we have hired, was all part of a hearing. Is that true?
I don't believe so. I
No,
don't know what
it's-
that would refer to.
I understand what his question is. So on the agenda that's posted today, there's section 4 is scheduled meetings and hearings.
Yes.
And there's 2 scheduled meetings.
Right.
There are no public hearings. I think he was wondering whether this was a public hearing or
I
a
see.
scheduled meeting.
Yeah.
That section of the agenda refers to both scheduled meetings and public hearings. Public hearings would have to have a public hearing legal ad, depending on the type, that's either in the newspaper or published, but this was not a public hearing.
Right, we didn't post a public hearing for this, and I don't know if we have for these types of things in the past, but
So there's no proviso that the general public can come in and the voters ask questions about those 2 segments of the procedures, or not procedure, but the listing of the what will happen in terms of the what's the word?
Agenda items?
Excuse
The
me?
agenda items?
Yes, thank you, agenda items.
so we don't post public hearings for every agenda item. Is it common for municipalities to have a public hearing for audits like that?
No. So, no. So public hearings, you know, things like, there's a lot of things that are statutorily require a public hearing. Special permits require a public hearing. Our bylaws require certain types of things for public hearings. So to this one, for the audit, it's actually not a requirement that our auditor comes in and presents publicly. It's very nice that he does, because we all get the audit report, we put it online, but it's not necessarily, when you read it, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to read. So having somebody come and explain that and distill it down, that's helpful. The other agenda item under this section, the introduction of Stephen Wallace, Director of Planning and Economic Development, that would be something that was inappropriate for a public hearing. The appointment of somebody would not be appropriate to have a public hearing on that matter. But of course, you know, there is, for something where there's not a public hearing, an agenda item where there's not a public hearing, there's the public comment section at both the beginning and end of the meeting, where the public can come and either raise questions, comments, concerns in advance of an agenda item, or after hearing the presentation at that public comment, raise questions, comments, and concerns at the end.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that process, but it's been my experience when it comes to public comment, there is no interaction between anybody that comes forth and to talk. So that there's no give and take, and there's no explanation, which I think is unfortunate, especially in light of current situation as it pertains to monies that are owed to the city of Fitchburg. That to me should be disclosed, and a discussion should take place, and our auditor, if I was sitting up there, which I'm not ever, I would ask specific questions about that in hopes that we could get some guidance as to how better to take care of our accounts payable and that sort of thing. Because it's, how much is that money now? What's owed?
$90,000.
$90,000.
This was an audit for FY '24.
Sorry?
This was an audit for FY '24.
I understand. Yeah. And what?
But this is an FY '25 and '26 issue.
Uh-huh. And that's why I think it would be prudent, and I'm surprised that nobody on the board broached this subject.
They haven't
being worked on?
so they haven't audited that time period yet. This was an audit for the time period of July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. It covered that period. This
Sure.
audit was completed in October of 2025, so a couple months ago. At that time, in October, we didn't have awareness around this issue. This wasn't even something that was on the radar, so to speak, to be saying, hey, can you look into this issue? Now, when it comes to engaging them for the FY '25 audit, I think there's a whole host of things we're going to ask for a special eye on.
Would that be part of it?
The water billing issue, I think, is close to resolution and close to some public discussion, at least for a proposal. There's no question of what happened, what went wrong with the water billing issue. The town did not increase its rates when Fitchburg increased its rates, and the town was not timely sending out bills. That's pretty straightforward. I don't need an auditor to say we weren't doing what we were supposed to do. That we were not sending out timely bills.
Okay, that to me, Joe Citizen, indicates a real weakness. So when this gentleman comes in, and I understand about the years that are in question, but I would have thought that it would be a great time to get his advice and counsel as to how this kind of stuff can stop, and we won't run into this again. Accounts payable.
I think auditors are very helpful when you don't necessarily know what's happening, but we know what happened here. I don't need an auditor to tell us what happened here.
And we're going to have those discussions in January, and when we're ready to take action on it, we will.
Okay, will that be in a forum that the citizens can come in and discuss and find out information? Because I don't know about you guys, but $90,000 to me is a lot of money.
I don't know if we're going to post it as a public hearing. We'll see, but we can start having those discussions in January.
Okay, well, I'm going on record as respectfully requesting that be a hearing so that people such as myself can be educated about this.
All right, understand. All right,
And-
thank you, Mr. Rogers.
That's it, so I don't, no more, huh? Okay. This is a big issue insofar as I'm concerned. So I would appreciate that and the school department with regard to the issues that were prevalent there for ordering things and taking monies from events and paying people that work in the school system for events, and I'm not completely familiar with this, okay? And I'd like to be, because it to me, it indicates a real weakness. I'm sorry?
Some of that you might have to go to
I
the
was
school
going to
committee
say, I was saying,
for,
can you refer
but-
him to the school committee
Yeah.
for some of that? That's not under the jurisdiction of. the
Mr.
select
Rogers,
board.
I appreciate you coming in, and really I do, and
Yeah, I can
hear
tell.
you. We
Yeah,
need to
you-
make this a little more collaborative and maybe do some more public hearings. Message
Yeah.
received, but we got to carry on with the agenda tonight.
I appreciate you saying that. I don't agree with it because that's one of the fallacies insofar as I'm concerned. you can bring forth a problem, but there's no discussion, and it is, I don't get a good feeling. So anything that we can do to entice the public to come in and to learn more about what's going on would be, I think, beneficial for everybody. And frankly, I take exception to the stands that I've heard here. But that's me.
All right. Thank
So
you, Mr.
thank you for your
Rogers.
time.
Of course. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. Appointments, ratifications, and resignations. Ratification of the town manager's appointment of Brandy O'Toole as the meal site manager.
Did you want to do these as a slate, or I?
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to speak to them. If not, it's okay.
I'll speak to Brandy's,
Okay.
but I don't have
Okay.
much information beyond Brandy's. So Brandy O'Toole is joining Lunenburg, having worked in this position in her current community of Clinton. And she has a lot of experience in this area, and we are excited to have her both bring her food and her programmings to Lunenburg.
All right, fantastic. Any questions for the town manager? I move to ratify the town manager's appointment of Brandy O'Toole as the meal site manager.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Okay, and then we can do both of these together. This is the only one with a vote, though, so.
Correct.
Ratification of the town manager's appointment of Joseph Davis as intermittent heavy equipment operator. So I'll move to ratify the town manager's appointment of Joseph Davis as intermittent heavy equipment operator.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. And finally, we're going to acknowledge the library director's appointment of Mina Scholten as the library assistant. No ratification needed on that one. Okay, town manager report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not a lot of topics on my report today, but the first is the consensus revenue hearing was today. I was not able to tune in at noon today, and I was not able to find any reporting on it as of yet. However, so that folks know, today started the FY27 budget process for the state with their annual consensus revenue hearing. At this hearing, the Department of Revenue and other financial experts talk about the state of our economy and state revenues over the second half of the fiscal year and the upcoming year. After that, there's a number that is the target number that's jointly decided for the revenue forecast for FY27 that is the basis for the governor's budget in January. So a lot of folks in the municipal world tune in to this hearing or follow up on the hearing after the fact, because this gives us some pretty good insight as to what the governor may or may not be doing in their budget in January. We know that revenues statewide are up over projections, but there's been other comments that have been indicating some conservativeness in spending. So I was not able to find any reporting on this today, but I'm sure it will be out tomorrow. And I know the Mass Municipal Association is going to take all of this technical policy walk language and distill it into something that's readable for us. The second item, which I know I shared with the Select Board and the Finance Committee, but to share more publicly here, earlier this year, the MMA had released a perfect storm report about cities and towns facing historical pressures. And this report found that there are a convergence of factors forcing Massachusetts and cities and towns to make increasingly devastating cuts to essential services. Municipalities have been keeping budgets balanced by cutting or reducing services, which impacts schools, libraries, roads, public safety, and an overall shrinking of community vibrancy. MMA's words, not mine. But last week, they released a package of policy recommendations that would, quote, stabilize municipal finances and public services, restore and strengthen the state-local partnership, and provide additional flexibility for local leaders to manage the budget. Those policy recommendations were in direct response to that report. So the number one policy recommendation, which I think this is going to feed into another agenda item shortly, was a major infusion of unrestricted general government aid, referred to as UGA, to make up for the local aid from the Commonwealth that cities and towns lost during the Great Recession of 2008 to 2010. 18 years later, UGA has just returned to the FY08 levels in the most recent state budget, not adjusting for inflation. That's really important. So the MMA is calling, there's 351 cities and towns. They're calling for a $351 million increase to UGA to restore the levels to pre-recession levels, stating, quote, "This is the most direct and immediate way to strengthen the foundation of our municipal government." 2, they want to ensure that all local aid programs remain fully funded going forward. Chapter 70, circuit breaker, other special payments for certain types of things. 3, and this is where I think that there's been some conversation, what is this report gearing up to do? Is this going to have, is the MMA going to take a run at Prop 2.5? So here they've told us what they're looking to do. So provide cities and towns with more flexibility for raising their local revenues, more options for raising local option taxes and cutting costs. And so specifically for Prop 2.5, the recommendation is to keep the overall framework, but let the local voters choose, if they wish, to implement gradual, multi-year overrides, or replace today's 2.5% annual tax levy limit temporarily or permanently with a higher fixed cap like CPI. The goal here is to not have the state decide what's going to happen to Prop 2.5, to allow municipalities to take it to their voters at town meeting and say something different works better for us here. Provide more flexibility on reclassification and shifting burdens. That's probably not going to impact Lunenburg greatly, but some new or increased local option taxes, including slightly higher local hotel meals taxes, local option surcharge on motor vehicle, and real estate transfers to fund affordable housing. So again, these are local options. They're trying to put a menu together that give communities the tools that may work for their town. And lastly, more incentives for regionalizing services and reducing minimum municipal government costs in accordance with the Governor's Municipal Empowerment Act. So there it is. That's what the association is planning to do with this report in the form of legislation. They are specifically asking for advocacy around this effort. All right. The chairman already mentioned that town offices will be closed for tomorrow from 12 to 2 for the annual staff holiday potluck and Yankee swap. Current recruitments are down. Our conservation agent, we had interviews this week, and there will be an offer letter going out. Staff librarian, finance director. I want to stick on finance director for a minute. So I have this posted for almost 2 months at 125 to 145 with a flexible work schedule and potential of sign-on bonuses. I did have one interview scheduled for tomorrow. That candidate has withdrawn. So I do believe this is the right rate. But we're not getting applicants. So I did speak to Robert Half today. They have some direct recruiting capabilities. If they provide us with a candidate or candidates and we interview them and they're not a fit, there's no cost. If they are a fit and we end up hiring them, it's 20% of that salary. So I have asked them to engage both around finding, they can do some direct recruitments around finding finance director and payroll and benefits administrator. We did have interviews, however, this week for payroll and benefits, which were positive. Recreation director at 19 hours per week is still vacant. I actually spoke with the chair of the Parks Commission last night and said that I'd like the Parks Commission to start having some conversations here, because although it is frozen outside, the reality is that you start planning for the summer staffing and scheduling really in January, February. So without this position being full or filled, I think the Parks Commission and I need to have some discussions of what, is there volunteers that could step up as has been done in the past. And we have the dietary aid position at 9 hours per week, and the outreach coordinator, we're still working on that job description. Okay. The board and committee vacancies remain the same, but just to read them, we have Agricultural Commission, Architectural Preservation District Commission, Cultural Council, Green Communities Associate Members, Historical Commission, Parks Commission, Personnel Board, PAC, ZBA, and a rep to the First Middlesex Small Town Collaborative. I did have, I'm not listing it here because it's not a vacancy, but I did have the chair of the Conservation Commission reach out and say that they are anticipating that there's going to be a vacancy, and that perhaps if there was somebody who was willing to volunteer, that somebody might be stepping down a little sooner due to personal reasons. So if they're, although not listed here, if there's folks who are interested in the Conservation Commission, if they're listening to this, fill out a talent bank form, get it in, because I know the Conservation Commission will be looking at minimally at the next round. Elected positions, we still have a vacancy on the Planning Board, Sewer Commission, and Trust Fund Commission.
Okay. Any questions for the town manager?
Yes. Would this be a good time to introduce like a part-time accountant to assist with the finance director? Would that help with recruiting?
No. So we have an assistant accountant who is a new hire. She's been on for about 2 months now. Her training is coming along excellent. And we have a consultant who has been doing the training for her. An assistant accountant, first, I don't know that we'd hire anybody. I don't think that this is a position that across the Commonwealth, I was talking to Frank earlier, do you know anybody? There's shortages across the Commonwealth, both even for his world and for our world. I don't know anybody who would be willing to take a part-time assistant position. And it doesn't help the overall, that doesn't eliminate the need for the consultants. It doesn't eliminate the need to hire a finance director. It doesn't really move the needle in one way, as far as I can see. I mean, I think if you told me that there was an assistant, there was somebody that had accounting skills who only wanted to work 19 hours a week, let's say, and they would be very interested in coming in. I think if there was a known candidate, right, I think that would be a meaningful and worthwhile conversation.
Yeah, because I was thinking maybe a retiree or something would.
That's later on the agenda.
Yeah.
That's literally what we're doing later on the agenda.
You mentioned you had interviews for payroll and benefits. Mm-hmm. Did they come from?
They did not.
overhead, or
They did
came
not.
just response to the post? Okay.
Yes, so we talked to 2 folks. Both were very skilled in payroll and benefits, substantial experience, no municipal, no munis. So that's not a barrier, but it's certainly a challenge.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Okay. New business. So up first, annual license renewals. So we revised the agenda with applicants that are ready to be considered for contingent votes. So that's what you're seeing here. So everything that was already here before is our applicants that are ready to go. And the ones that were revised, so the highlighted ones, have some outstanding things. And it looks like all but one of them is potentially good for a contingent vote. I think there's one that we should discuss. So one hasn't even sent in any application information. I believe that is what I'm reading. And that is Lunenburg Gas. So I am looking to the board to see how we want to handle that one in particular. So we can not vote to renew tonight. We could do a contingent vote potentially for that one.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, if you want to come up and talk about what's
Yeah,
going
take
on.
that, if you could, oh, yeah, come all the way up, yeah.
All right, so I have been in touch with the manager. There was some changeover for the manager, so it took a while to figure out who I needed to talk to. Last week, I did send her some specific instructions on how to go to the OpenGov portal, where the application is found and everything. I anticipated the end of last week or the beginning of this week to have an application, but it wasn't the case. I received an email from her this morning saying that it's in her accountant's hands, but they don't know where the applications are, where to mail them in. So I sent her the instructions on how to do so on OpenGov again, and I haven't heard anything. So I am hoping very soon.
So if the board was not inclined to take a contingent vote, for you to understand what that means. So this is a common vic license, there's no alcohol. So it would mean from January 1st of 2026 until the board voted to approve the license, they would not be able to sell and serve food for folks who are gonna sit there. So that's what the common vic isn't just like for the sale of the food. So you wanna go to there, buy a bag of chips, leave, great. Get a prepared sandwich and sit down somewhere, no.
But by the same token, if we approve contingent on everything being in place and everything's not in place by January 1, they're in the same.
Yep. It's just you'd be looking at the actual, you'd have an application. Ooh, there's just no application?
There's nothing. I don't
There's
know
not an
what we can,
application. Right.
I have a hard time
Yeah.
with nothing. Are we meeting on the 30th? Do we know? Are
The
we-
30th
Or
of
is this it
December?
for the year?
This is it for the year. that we're
Unless
scheduling.
there's a tri-board.
Okay. I'm just wondering if in the next 2 weeks they got everything together, would we still be able to?
We could,
do this.
yeah, we could call a meeting and do a Zoom meeting for it. I'm open to that too.
She's responsive in communications, just not following through.
Okay, well, other board members, where are you at? Are you comfortable with a contingent vote? Do you want to hold off on it?
I'd be comfortable with a contingent vote. I don't see the downside.
Brian?
I would be comfortable with a contingent vote.
Okay, I am as well. I don't really have any issue with it. If they don't submit anything by January, then they'll be in the same situation, and we can always revisit it. If we do get it and there are issues, we can deal with that when it arises. So I'm comfortable with that as well. Do any members have any other questions about any of these other applicants that we have listed here, some of the outstanding information?
On the table or on the
The
agenda?
table, yep.
Oh, on the table. Whalum Gas, the comment you have here, Melissa?
Personal property tax?
Yeah. Applicant is confused?
Yeah, there seems to be some barriers with communication with them. It was stated, they were aware few weeks ago that this was outstanding. He came up and said that he was going to take care of it. And I don't know if there was like a break in communication when he went back down. I did receive a call from a woman from Whalum Gas, and I thought she was calling about the common vic. However, it ended up being she wanted some help filling out an assessor's form.
Okay.
So that is ongoing.
But it's just getting these documents submitted, right?
No, this is, they
This
need
is
to pay.
paying.
They need to
This
pay.
is paying.
Taxes.
Yeah.
So I would, for sure, for contingent votes would be Bad Larry's, Blue Sky Golf,
Right.
Lanny Orchards, question on Dippin' Donuts, so Dippin' Donuts, Lunenburg Gas, Whalum Gas, and Baker's Towing. The two, Smokestack and Ixtapa, it's landlord issues, so I don't know that I have contingent votes.
Baker's Towing, I did find a website that I could submit a verification request for their bond, and I did receive an email stating there was a bond. However, they didn't give the information of how long it's valid like I usually receive. So hopefully I'll get another response.
I think the Blue Sky Golf, that's the Knox box for the fire department, was supposed to have been installed as a condition of their occupancy, so that, the fire department is not gonna sign off on this one until that Knox box is installed.
Okay.
And the personal tax for Lanny, did they come in today?
They came in and they had paid previously some other fees that they needed to, but I guess this one was missed when they came in to make the payment. They are aware and they should be taking care of it this week.
Okay. And the fire department inspection for Bad Larry's Wednesday, that's tomorrow, Wednesday?
Yes.
Expected, okay.
I'm unsure on whether they did schedule one with building, because I think building was looking.
Oh,
I have an email, hold on.
Okay.
Commissioner, just give me one sec. I know I saw something. I think he said he went today, and it looked like there was a miscommunication. Nobody was there to meet him. But let's see if he said when he was going back. All right. Okay, so he did have an inspection scheduled today at 1. Nobody was present, so he's reached out to reschedule.
Okay. Are we comfortable with doing contingent votes on all of these?
yeah, I'm not thrilled about the contingent vote on Lunenburg Gas, but
Okay.
the majority of the board.
And
So I'll go along.
Smokestep and Ixtapa, do we want to just vote on those, not contingent, because the issues
Yeah.
outstanding are
Yeah, they're not on
landlord?
yeah, they're on the regular approval list.
I know, I just see it right here, and I know people are looking at this, so. Okay. So I will move to approve the annual license renewals as printed on the agenda with the contingent votes for the applicants listed in this table, to be contingent upon the outstanding details here, and with the exception of Smokestep and Ixtapa.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Okay. One thing here, actually, I did want to note, Ixtapa, I noticed, was here for, on their alcohol license. They have a common vic too, right? It wasn't on the agenda, so we might want to just,
Yep, they do have a common vic too, so.
okay, so do you want me to just make a motion for that?
Please.
I'm glad I forgot about that, glad I caught that. I move to approve the annual license renewal for Ixtapa for the common vic.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Okay. All right, approval of employment agreement for Karen Brochu, the interim finance director / town accountant.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is the future agenda item with bringing back a retiree. So, Karen Brochu is retired from a long service to the town of Lunenburg as its town accountant and finance director. She is ready, willing, and able to come back and help the town of Lunenburg out as early as tomorrow morning if the board ratifies this employment agreement. So the terms of the agreement are that she will be paid $150 an hour for her services. She's not entitled to any additional benefits, and we're anticipating that she'll work approximately 16 hours a week. Her time is going to be limited in that she is a retiree, and so her earnings are capped. But I'm very thankful that she's able, but more importantly, willing to come back and help out the town of Lunenburg.
Okay, any questions on this?
No, I am also thankful. And she'll be able to overlap with Katie? Yeah.
That's the goal of having her start tomorrow, that they can at least have a couple of days that they can overlap. And I'm sure that Katie will answer the phone if Karen has questions about anything that has happened during Katie's short tenure here. Yeah.
Okay, I will move to approve the employment agreement for Karen Brochu, interim finance director / town accountant.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, discussion on future disposition of 925 Mass Ave. So I wanted to pick this back up where it was dropped off last year, and in the meantime, we've received a lot of documents from the time since we had that presentation. So there's been a lot of work to get this property ready to redevelop, and there are a couple things that the board will have to do, namely reviewing the evaluation criteria for the RFP. I think that's the main thing for us, and then actually getting it out. So no discussion on this tonight, but I wanted to put it on everyone's radar. There's a lot of documents in here. I don't know if you guys had a chance to go and watch that presentation, but it is on YouTube from last year. I know that was emailed to us. I don't know the date of that meeting off the top of my head.
June
but it was
11th.
June 11th? Okay.
I know because that's someone's birthday.
Oh, fantastic. Yep. So go ahead and watch that, and if you have any questions, I know there's a lot here, so definitely reach out to the town manager. I know this process is probably going to be new to all of us, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think, Mr. Chairman, before you move off of this
Yep.
subject, I am meeting with
Yep.
Amanda next week from Mass Development, who was here to give that presentation. If in your review of information, if you feel that it would be helpful to have her come back and give a full presentation or a follow-up presentation to this board, let me know before next week. She is for Mass Development are not the folks who crafted the RFP, though. That was a separate consultant that crafted the RFP, and that contract has been fully expended, and so there's no more work of the consultant that would be done on this.
Great, all right. Any initial questions on this?
No, is the expectation next time this comes up that we go through the red line RFP? Is that what the expectation is?
We can, yeah, if we're ready. I don't think that's really our,
Most,
yeah.
yeah,
that's-
Just tell me
most-
what I need to be prepared for.
What's the evaluation
Most of
criteria?
the red line is for.
You guys in town council. and-
Yeah, us in town council.
Okay.
The important part for the board is on pages 16 and 17 of the document. There's the evaluation criteria. This is what the consultant drafted. This is the opportunity for this board to really guide what is going to be considered a highly advantageous or not advantageous proposal. So this was crafted based on what the conversations were at the time, the understandings of the property. That may change. So just for the public that's not looking at this document, the categories are use, renovation, new construction, responsive design, environmental, purchase price, parking, timeline, developer experience, and financial feasibility. I think most of your probably concentration is going to be around the top section of that, right? About what this board's goals are for that property. At the time that this was originally drafted, there was not the structural evaluation done, so there was, in that meeting from over a year ago, there was a little bit of back and forth of whether or not reuse was the better route or new construction. The structural evaluation of the property was good. So if the board was inclined to, keep that structure and not have a new structure, then I think you're going to really want to look at how the renovation and new construction criteria are listed.
And do I remember right, if it was new construction, it was 3
Two.
story?
Two,
stories.
yeah, not
Two,
three.
okay.
Yep.
It can be up to 3 based on
But it must
current
be,
zoning.
it must be at least 2.
Okay. Only for new construction?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair. And to Mr. Rogers' comments earlier, if there is anybody in the public that does want to meet up and discuss this, I'd be more than happy to meet up.
Yeah, it's funny you bring this up. I actually was thinking that this would be a really good candidate for a
Yeah.
public hearing, because I am curious to, see what people think on this one, so. All right. Old business, letter to governor and local aid on the FY27 budget. So I have a red line in the drive. Thank you to Brian for helping out with some of the language relative to Renee's feedback. Let me just pull it up. So I have two versions here. The second one is the red line, and then I have one with just the changes. So I added some information to the second paragraph on those mitigation funds for the hospital closure. So that process is still being determined. So I just said mitigation funds set aside have still not been made available to municipalities. And then I made that little edit right there. So instead of saying without support from the state, I modified it to with little to no support from the state. Down below, now that we have the number for the unrestricted general government aid that is being advocated for, really coincidental timing on that. It was 2 days after we reviewed this letter last week. I added that specific number in here. And then this is Brian's sentence, or a couple sentences here. I put it in this paragraph because it was mostly related to education funding, but I left it exactly how it was written. I thought it was very good. And then I think the only thing down below is, oh, and somehow I missed the red line for this. I added the 351 number again at the bottom. And that's pretty much it. Those are all the changes that I've made.
Do you have any idea what that 351 million would translate to Lunenburg?
I don't off the top of my head, nor have I seen any projections for what that would look like, but
I'm assuming it's going to be some formula based.
yeah, for sure, yeah. It's not divided by 351.
Yeah, it would be a winner if it was divided by
Yeah.
351.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking a minimum of 351 million, because for the state, that's not a lot of money.
No, not really, for a budget of, 60-something billion.
Billion,
It's
yeah.
not,
And it's one of my concerns, is like mentioned in the town manager's report, is that, I personally think the problem is the lack of funding from the state. And I'm just concerned that they would provide a mere pittance and then celebrate the changes allowing people to raise their own taxes, when really the primary problem that needs to be dealt with specifically is the lack of the return of our own funds from the state, and not only just returning our funds, but without the strings attached, to your point about the unrestricted general government aid. So I understand the importance of being a broad-based letter, but I don't really like the idea of letting them off the hook. And I'd like to see something in there that indicated that we're not looking for tools to raise our own taxes. And that's essentially what the half of this, their solutions will be, is providing us, tools to raise our own taxes.
Can I just clarify? So that's the position of the municipal association. We don't even know what the position of the legislature is, right? Like,
But I like the message of, returning, providing us with the appropriate amount of funding from the state, and it would eradicate or eliminate all those other issues.
yeah. I mean, I think I've captured that pretty well. I write somewhere in here that, first and foremost, like, I don't think the solution to this problem is increasing excise tax or any of those, local tax options. It's the state just increasing aid to us. So I write in here somewhere, actually, I don't know where it is. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, the addition of the word minimum, at least 350, like give us at least 350.
Yeah. This 351 million, it's giving me a weird feeling. Like, they picked that number because there's
Right.
351
Yeah, it's
communities.
cute.
Yeah, so they're trying to let you think, oh, it's going to be $1 million for every. No, it's going to be a formula, and we don't do well with formulas. So I kind of, that bothers me, that how they arrived at that number. Why that number? Why not 500 million?
It's a nice talking point. That's
Why not?
It's
Right.
400 million.
Yeah.
The 351 is like too cute. No. It just feels odd.
It seems restrictive, too, that it has to be 351 million. I feel like it should be just an increase, a significant increase.
to bring us back, I mean, there's, MMA said that that amount would bring us back to the
Yeah, they did.
pre-2008
And they
level,
had
which
fair
still
enough
doesn't account for
analysis in
inflation, nothing, right?
No,
Or-
we are already back, this year in this budget, we got to the non-income adjusted.
Okay, so they're saying the 351 will bring us, will account for inflation over those 18 years?
Let's pull up their,
That's,
let's pull up the,
funny math.
Because, I mean, that just goes to
I mean-
concern that they're gonna give us money and celebrate it, and we have to be, polite and accept it, but it won't be enough. So they'll either eliminate 2.5 on their own or circumvent it. And not to go down that rabbit hole again, but where it talks about the Chapter 90 lack of funding, that's where the stormwater utility fee comes in, because we're not receiving the appropriate amount of funding from Chapter 90. So it requires the citizens of Lunenburg and other like communities to essentially raise their own taxes outside of Proposition 2.5. So that's the trend that really concerns me. And it's all a direct result of the lack of appropriate funding.
Because that's a federal mandate, those are
Well, it's
federal
both state and federal,
regulations.
but yeah, I mean, it's.
No, the MS4 is
It's
federal.
regulations, government. I don't mean to necessarily just pick on state government. However, they clearly have a funding problem when it comes to the communities that together actually make the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The script needs to be flipped, or should be flipped.
I mean, if the goal is that the 350 million brings us back to the adjusted, catches us up,
so.
we should just say amount that catches us up, because I'm not convinced it's really 351.
I'm fine with removing the number. I didn't have it there last week. We can just remove it. I only added it because there's a number now. So if we don't
Yeah,
want to include it, that's fine.
I think
I would,
MMA is just.
I would
being too
support
big.
include a significant increase.
Okay.
I did find the section of the
Yeah.
report where they talked about the 351 and why they arrived at that number. So they said between fiscal 2007, the last full pre-Great Recession budget, and fiscal 2024, UGA has averaged approximately 6.78% of total local taxes statewide. So then they go on to say, while anchoring on the 6.78% benchmark of 356 million, so it's so close to the 356, 351 that I'm assuming they just
Right.
dropped that for.
They just
But that
lost
would
$5
be
million.
a 26.5% increase above FY '26. But it doesn't say that they're not claiming that would restore to the '07 inflation adjusted
Adjusted.
numbers, yeah. It's getting there.
Do we want to remove it or
Maybe
keep it?
And maybe it's including a minimum of 351.
Or as a start for FY '27. Like,
Yeah, actually, that's good. I like that. Okay.
like, we're coming back for more in FY '28.
Well, I think one of the things I like the value of this letter is, I'm not convinced they'll read it, but the public here in Lunenburg, hopefully they read it, and it will certainly, hopefully provide some needed information and motivation.
I think it's still important, too, to be reaching out to our legislators about this, and the fact that we're sending it to our legislators mean that
Yep.
this is important to us.
Well, I am also just saying that the FY '27 state budget include a 351 million increase. So I am being specific enough to state this fiscal year.
Yeah, it does.
So maybe
say
that's
20,
okay.
27.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
We're just
And not
aligning
just
with
for 1 year.
MMA's recommendation, but I honestly, it's not enough, and I don't think we're going to get a big enough piece.
I'm fine with keeping it. I think it's specific enough to the fiscal year. What do you guys think?
I think it gets the point across either way.
Okay.
Do we know anything about when the funds that became available for the Neshoba?
Yeah, so they should start to be available by application in January. is what I read, but I think there's still a lot of details that hasn't been communicated yet.
Correct.
And so we don't know what that amount could be for us.
Oh, we do know the
We have an
amount.
estimate.
Yeah, I think we
Oh,
have
we
an
do?
amount now, right?
We just got an amount, yep.
I just heard, and I don't know if this is correct, but it's from Senator Cronin, $165,529
For Lunenburg.
for Lunenburg.
Hold on, no, we have, okay.
Department of
what-
Public.
What was the
Public Health.
number?
$165,529.
Right on the money.
Yeah. Just came out today, I just saw it from
Yep.
Senator Cronin's office.
Yep.
Out of what was the total amount, do you know?
Well, it says, there's some details from the chief that say this was based on 100,000 per town as a base number, and then a formula based on call volume increases, increased wait times, overall increases to turnaround time. They specifically excluded overtime costs, so the formula gave the additional 65,000. So it says towns of Air and Groton received much more as they were most heavily impacted. Range was from $800,000 to Groton to just over $100,000 for Boxborough. So we were third from the bottom. And then the final rollout with requirements and the grant application will be in January. We are not getting the money. This is a reimbursement grant. So we will have to extend and report. Wording of the request was for, quote, extraordinary EMS-related costs. The final language has not been completed, but it appears the grant will allow for wages, EMS-related training, and EMS-related equipment and hardware.
So how many years is that?
The grant period is through June 30, 2027.
So once?
Yep, this is one time. So where it's one time, in my opinion, I would not want to see it expended on wages.
No. Wow, we're third from the bottom.
Yep.
I'm surprised.
All right. Any other feedback on this? Are you ready to approve it?
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion?
I didn't finish reading
Okay.
this last read one.
So the whole part of Chapter 90, is that out of here? I don't see it.
I think I did remove it. Yeah, I did, and I didn't add it back. But I can just copy it back. I have the other.
Well, I mean, what is it, at risk of becoming TLTR?
Right.
Too
I
long
wanted
to read.
I needed to cut it down
bad.
just a little bit,
I
so I
learned.
trimmed that
I
out.
learned.
I think the UGA and the Chapter 70 are the biggest points to get across, so,
All right, are you ready, Renee?
yeah.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the letter to the governor, Maura Healy, on local aid into the fiscal year 2027 budget, and send a copy to both to the governor, our legislators, and also the school committee and finance committee.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. We will have to coordinate signing that because Amanda is not here and they are not printed out right now. So just be aware that we're going to have to do that.
Do you mind a DocuSign? Do you want it wet ink?
I would prefer wedding.
Okay. We'll have to do it another day anyways.
Okay, moving on, discussion on special event policy. So we pretty much decided that we're gonna completely redo this and workshop it. And I also am generally mindful of not talking about policies too much without a full board. And I know Amanda is very opinionated on this one. So we can hold off on January, but I think we should start really thinking about what direction we want this to go into. It sounds like we don't really want to regulate events on private property anymore. So the questions are, you know, who does this apply to? what activities are we trying to regulate or prevent, and what does this process look like, and what do we want from applicants? Things like that are what we should be considering for our next conversation on this. Discussion on appointment policy. I did drop in an updated red line based on our conversations last week. So in the first paragraph, I removed the requirement for the bulletin board since we had discussed that. Under appointments, I changed at the first and second regular meetings in June to just during the month of June. I didn't really know what to do with this one. I added it here mainly as a reminder that we discussed this. And I think this is where I added a section, maybe create a vacancies section, I don't know. But I just wrote, the town will maintain a page on the town's website, including an up-to-date listing of all vacancies and information on how to submit a volunteer application. Vacancies will be posted to the town's social media accounts with a link to the web page. In the following paragraph, I removed in a local newspaper for all of the vacancies for appointments. I removed in the second meeting in June, so the material will just be made available the first meeting in June. And then for requesting interviews, I changed it to from select board members to the select board by a majority vote of its members for an articulated reason to be provided in writing. May also request for all applicants to be interviewed. And then here I just added this note to kind of flag that we discussed this. We talked briefly about potentially creating a subcommittee to screen or potentially do interviews or preliminary interviews of applicants, especially when we get applicants who put down, like 3 to 5 different boards that they're interested in serving in. And I didn't really know how to flesh that out, so I left that as a point of discussion. So I just wanted to make sure that was captured, so that's there. Section 3, I added at the end of the reappointment where it says that members may provide their review and response regarding other members of their board, committee, or commission that are seeking reappointment. I added directly to the town manager, reappointment application shall not be discussed during an open meeting of the appointed multi-member body due to the open meeting law. Under ad hoc committees, I removed at least annually to from time to time as needed or requested. And this is reviewing charges and memberships of advisory committees. Under learn, I added in the beginning, all appointees shall successfully complete all training requirements of the multi-member body they are appointed to. And then under organization, I replaced all with any. Reporting, I changed that to when requested by the select board and took out each November. And I think that's it. The only thing I did not do was update the actual volunteer application. So the other thing that we discussed that I didn't capture in all of this is adding some sort of field where people can say, I am interested in the conservation because, a reason for their interest for the boards and committees that they mark their interest in. So I think I captured everything that we discussed in here. So this is the working doc of everything we've discussed so far. Anything anyone want to discuss or bring up on this tonight?
I just had a question on like the subcommittee.
Sure.
If there was two, I was under the impression if you had two people informally could meet, but if it's structured, 2 people, then it's becomes public record.
So it depends.
Of course.
So if it is something, I'm going to use myself as an example. If it is something that the town manager, the building commissioner, somebody had independent authority to do on their own, and you are convening a group for advice, to say there's some decision that the town manager could make, and I'm convening 2 select board members to meet with me and provide advice to me on that. that is not subject to the open meeting law. However, if two members, even if it's just two of a 5-member board, have a subcommittee where you are actively meeting on something that's under the policy direction of this board, even though it's less than a quorum, it's still public meeting. So that was, I think the town had a specific example of that with the tax investigation.
Yes.
So even though that was 2 people, that was an official committee.
So my concern would be that even though we do have a subcommittee, the person is still coming in, they're gonna be likely on camera, live on TV, which is maybe a stressful situation for some people to have to come up to the select board and interview, just to be appointed to the committee. I don't know if then there's a way around that then.
Probably isn't a way around it.
You don't necessarily have, there's, not every single meeting in the town of Lunenburg is filmed, and not every single meeting in the town of Lunenburg happens in this room, right?
So it would have to be posted, it would have
It would have
to
to
be
be
the follow
posted,
open
but-
We
meeting
could
law.
ask PAC not to record.
Sure. And obviously, if there are people who have an interest in that subject matter and they
They can
want to
show up.
come and sit there and listen to the discussion, you don't get the complete privacy of that, but they.
But I think you don't get the recording at least.
But you don't get the record, and the height differential and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. So I don't know, I'm honestly not really sure where I'm at right now on this, but I'm gonna, keep thinking about it, and then we can pick it up again in January.
All right, the date at the end, are we changing first and second Tuesday in June to just June?
I'm sorry, hold on
Right.
1 second. Were you looking?
Very bottom.
The key dates at the very end?
Okay. In person or, no, not that one.
No, first and second Tuesday in
First and
June?
second.
Should that
Yes,
just be
it should.
June?
Thank you. I had a feeling I missed one somewhere. I'm just gonna leave it as June. Okay, thank you. All right, anything else on this tonight?
Nope.
No.
All right. Review select board bylaw for potential recommendations to bylaw review committee. Was there anything that members wanted to discuss or potentially recommend for the select board bylaw? And are there other bylaws that members would like to flag for discussion for a future meeting?
I have not had a chance to look at these.
Okay, no worries, I know, it's a lot.
I will just mention that the EDC is working on that, the request from that local business about a BYOB policy, so.
Okay.
That may come up again, / to the bylaw review committee, and then ultimately, of course, here, just to let the board know.
Okay, that's interesting to know. Thanks for letting us know. Okay, so we can leave this on if we want to continue to review it. I know there's a lot of bylaws there. So some good reading over the holidays. All right, I don't think we have any minutes to review tonight. Warrants, don't see any. Are there any action items?
The letter that we have to send, that we have to speak to the school committee and finance committee, I will need copies for that for tomorrow for the school committee meeting.
Okay.
I sent you the
You gave me the final.
final
Yes,
edits.
Okay.
yeah, she emailed it late last
I
week.
think Melissa might have it too already.
It came last night.
No,
Last
no,
week.
no,
Last
like
week.
over the
Wednesday or
weekend
Thursday?
or
Okay.
something? I don't remember. What's today?
I don't think you included Melissa on that, by the way, so I would just
Okay.
try to find that and
Okay.
send it along. Any others?
Yeah, it's not on like, well, it's just on plain paper, so.
Yeah. So for that, are we okay with DocuSign?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or-
Yeah. I
I
am.
think that's fine.
Okay,
I'm not coming in for that.
okay.
Unless they're both done at the same time. All right, committee reports.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had an action item.
Oh, you had an action item.
I
Okay.
do. So I was reminded of this needing to come up for a future agenda item by actually Frank Soretti.
Oh, okay.
When he was talking about the opioid settlement funds.
Oh, yes.
So the town of Lunenburg needs to start deciding what to do with those opioid settlement funds. as many municipalities as there are in Massachusetts that are receiving these settlement funds, there are that many different ways that folks are handling them. Some folks have stood up specialized groups, task forces that are comprised of town staff. Some have all volunteers, some have hybrid, or some are leaving it at this level, that these decisions around the expenditures are decided by this entity. So for a future agenda item, to start to think about how do we want to approach the expenditure of the funds, and whether that be through some type of committee or what have you. And I'm sure there's perhaps folks listening in the public that have opinions about this one in particular. I think opiates have certainly impacted a lot of families, so I don't know if folks feel particular about that. I know we have some requests for expenditure of the funds from police and fire, but before we start expending funds, I think we should have a more comprehensive decision about the direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up.
Is there any time constraint around that?
We should be well into spending the funds now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Committee reports?
Maybe we could have a public hearing on it. The planning board met last night. The master plan steering committee did finish its charge last week. They'll just have to have maybe one more meeting to approve minutes. The chair of the planning board did read an extensive list of thank yous to all those who had contributed throughout the lengthy process. They did have an A&R, an approval not required, at 222 West Townsend Road that was endorsed. I believe it was into, I forget, 4 or 5 new lots. That was a property that the town did have the first right of refusal at one point, or twice actually, but they did have a public hearing. The one for 30 Summer Street was, the applicant requested and was granted a continuation for a future meeting. Zero Reservoir Road had a stormwater permit, which is referred to Graves for peer review. That will be, it's proposed to be 4 single-family homes in the immediate area of Goodrich. They will need a special permit for a driveway. That would be a future public hearing. That hearing was also continued to a future meeting. And 100 Townsend Harbor Road, that's a 5-lot project. The one house that's done, essentially done, they put up a performance guarantee bond of $4,000. So once that check clears, they will be eligible to receive their certificate of occupancy, and that house would then be eligible for sale. The MPO is tomorrow, and the Library Board of Trustees is next week.
The school committee meeting is tomorrow. They're going to be doing a budget workshop. That's all I had.
I don't have any.
Capital planning meets tomorrow night, and we're going to be reviewing our rankings. All right, upcoming meetings. Maybe we'll have one for December. I'm not sure. Maybe a tri-board. We're still trying to schedule it. Hopefully we can get that scheduled. But if not, then we won't be meeting until 2026. Public comment. Is there any public comment from the public?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In the printed agenda.
Can you please start with your name and address?
Sure. My name is Dave Rogers. I live at 82 Highland Street. The part of the agenda dealing with the highway department and the individual that we're going to hire, would you be kind enough to read that? Because there's a part of that that I don't understand.
So we ratified an appointment for a intermittent heavy equipment operator.
Yeah. What is an intermittent heavy equipment operator?
To the town manager, do you want to answer that?
It's not a full-time member of our staff. They're used as needed. This is going to be somebody that is driving one of our trucks for snow and ice removal, but it's not a full-time member of the,
Part-time.
correct.
Okay, thank you. With specific regard to the letter to the governor, I've been thinking about this, and somehow or another, I think we should explain to the governor that we would be happy if they would begin to take care of unfunded state mandates. That would be a great start. And see what their response is, because it's, probably we should come up with a number of mandates that affect us and the cost of that, so they could see the impact of that. Anyway, it's a beginning, it's a start. It's awful. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rogers. Not seeing any other public here tonight. Any public comment from the town manager?
No.
Any public comment from the board?
Yes, the Lunenburg, if anybody's looking for last-minute Christmas presents, the Lunenburg PTO is selling plush blankets. They're pretty big. They're 60 inches by 70 inches, and they're $30, and 40% of the purchase will go to the PTO. If you just go to the PTO website, it's lunenburgpto.ptboard.com, you can find information there.
All right. I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. I hope you all enjoy your time with your family and your friends over the holidays, and we will see you back here in January. All right, have a good night, everyone. Oh, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, good night.
Thank you.